So many of your projects have been sequelized and remade. Why do you think the genre is so reliant on sequels and remakes right now?
Well, look, you know, the economics of the film business right now are horrible. I think for everybody, even the people that, you know, we always suspect as filmmakers are pocketing all the money, they're fighting all sorts of things that are very, very difficult to deal with. Piracy, for one thing. A generation that thinks it's their right to copy anything and use it for another thing. A proliferation of ways to see films, right down to Redbox, where you can just go to a vending machine and get a film for $1.
Yeah, scary.
Very tough to make $1. People don't realize that, you know, you make a film for $10 million and that's cheap, but you have to make prints and advertising that'll cost 20 or 30 million. So, you know, I think it's hard for everybody in these days to make a buck in the film business.
So a studio is going to pursue what they see as their easiest path?
Why not? You know, I think if I were running a studio, I would make remakes too. I would try to make original films also, but, you know, you have to make the ones that keep the lights on too. And that's been going on in Hollywood since day one. In fact, the old westerns and horror films were the safe films of the day because, you know, they had a certain audience for it.
Here we have access to more media than we've ever had, and it seems like it's used less than it's ever been used. Certainly in terms...
Well, most of it is just self-gratifying uses of media. I mean, that's what's sold to us, you know. Everything is kind of fun and playful and indulge yourself, you know. So I find there's really an attention span problem. You know, it's difficult to get into depth in something if you can't hold a thought for more than a minute, or if you've been raised on input that's 3 seconds long, 2 seconds long. Sometimes that's sit in the film discount how many seconds is each cut, and sometimes you don't get up to 3.
Do you think that comes out of the music video generation?
It might well. Maybe, you know, just the barrage of all different inputs and commercials, you know, having to grab your attention in a very quick time.
Well, one of the things about your films is it's not just about the jumps. It's both anticipated and unanticipated. You have to kind of walk that line of meeting expectations of the audience and exceeding them and taking them in unexpected areas.
Well, that's what they're paying their money for. You know, they don't want to see warmed over something else.
Right.
And I often tell young writers, ask yourself 2 questions. Have you seen it before? If you have, you know, don't write it. It's been done. You know, because half the writers, and I'm sure you know this too, they come to you and say, well, it's sort of like Scream meets, you know, Halloween.
Yeah.
Don't even bother. You know?
We've been there, so on the double bill.
If you can tell yourself, I haven't seen it before, and then maybe you haven't seen it because it's such a stupid idea, so you have to ask yourself the second question, would I go see it? Would I go out of my way to go see it? It's respecting the audience enough to say, if I'm going to ask them for money, I'm going to have to give them something new. And that sometimes is hard more at the studio level than at the audience level.
Well, because it's counteractive to what they want. They want to feed the familiar because they know how to sell the familiar.
Exactly. Yeah, that's why Nightmare on Elm Street script went around town for 3 years before it found backing.
Does it fill you with glee when you're in a theater and scaring the shit out of an audience?
It's not, well, I feel like I'm really doing my job. There is certainly a satisfaction in it, because, well, part of it is a kind of a contest of brains, you know. You have to talk about what's relevant, but you also have to surprise them. You have to do it in a way that they can't predict. And so there's kind of a contest of minds there. And the horror audience, as you know, is very canny, very smart, and they've seen a lot of horror. So to make them jump, you really have to be on your game, you know, and you really have to respect your audience. You have to know these kids are damn smart, you know. The wonderful thing about the Scream series was that Kevin Williamson, who, you know, created that first script, said, yeah, I've seen all the movies too, and let's talk about them, but this is not like that, you know. So I don't feel like I want to scare my audience in a bad way. I love my audience. I think they're really smart and wonderful, gentle people, by the way. As many tattoos and piercings and everything as half of them have, they're really gentle souls. You know, as you have, I'm sure, stood in the back of many, many theaters when audiences are leaving after seeing one of your films, and the typical reaction is people are laughing, and their cheeks are all rosy. And if they see you and recognize you, they say, thanks, that was scary as hell.
Well, Music of the Heart was a total change of pace as far as the audience was concerned. Was that something they came to you or you lobbied to get?
It was a kind of a carrot on the part of Bob and Harvey Weinstein. They were there at the night of the first test screening of Scream. And the film went through the roof on the test scores. We never tested it again. And so we all congratulated ourselves, and Bob and Harvey muscled everybody out of the way. We want to do a 3-picture deal with you. Scream 2, Scream 3, and then we'll give you 1 for you, anything we own. And so I went through all their things, and they owned the rights to this documentary, Small Wonders, which was about Roberta Savaris, a violin teacher who taught in Harlem. And it appealed to so many things. I had been a teacher, I had been divorced, I had lived in New York and loved New York. I loved all sorts of music, including classical music. And it was a great story, and I thought I could get an actress that would be really top-notch.
Too bad you had to settle for Meryl Streep, huh?
Academy nomination for her, so.
Nice.
Yeah.
From a horror guy.
Yeah, yeah.
You've had tremendous success, particularly in the horror genre, over and over again. How do you feel about that label of being considered a horror director?
It's a blessing and it's a curse. I mean, I had to have a very erudite conversation with Meryl before she would consider, doing it. And, it's funny, on the set the first day I met her, she says, my daughter, we live in Connecticut at a house down at the end of this long road in the middle of the woods.
Uh-oh.
And my daughters watched Scream on our television set, and they were terrified to sleep in the house after that. So I got busted by her right away. And we had a very difficult time getting an audience into a theater on my name. In fact, we moved towards downplaying my name a lot on Music of the Heart. You can realize as the filmmaker that it's difficult for a studio to sell a Music of the Heart with your name on it, because the more famous you are for making kind of outrageous, scary films, the more the crossover audience will say, I don't think so.
Well, even beyond when you were making Music of the Heart, how do you feel about the generalization of being put into that category?
I come from a blue-collar family, and I'm just glad for the work, I mean, I think it's an extraordinary opportunity and gift to be able to make films in general. To have done it for almost 40 years now is remarkable. I don't know what else I would do at this point to earn a living. And I've met all sorts of extraordinary people and been extraordinary places. And, if I have to do the rest of my films in the genre, no problem. No problem. I'll take every opportunity to get out. But if I'm going to be a cage bird, I'll sing the best song I can.
If people think you do something well, that's a terrific compliment.
No, it is. It is. And I can see that I give my audiences something. I can see it in their eyes, and they say thank you a lot. So you realize you're doing something that means something to people. So shut up and get back to work.
I'm going to thank you for it.
Okay.
Thanks, Wes.
All right. My pleasure.